Today on Homeworthy, we're bringing you to Atlanta, Georgia for a look inside interior designer Jessica Davis's beautiful mid-century modern home. Built in the 1960s, Jessica has decorated the classic post and beam style home with eclectic and whimsy finishes, an approach that is also reflected in her hardware line, Nest Studios. Having grown up in Hong Kong and lived all over the world, Jessica's home is collected and layered. Magnolia paneling warms up each room inside, while the lush outdoor spaces offer the perfect respite. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Jessica Davis. Welcome to my home in Atlanta. I can't wait to show you around. Come on in. Our house was designed in 1960 by Jerry Cooper, who's an Atlanta architect. It's a classic mid-century post and beam style home. When we saw this house, we knew it was a great diamond in the rough, and we really wanted to get in and put our stamp on it. Some of the things that we did was to update the floor, which was a slate, with a classic mid-century terrazzo. We painted the brick and the beams to really accentuate them. I also love to collect art, so I have gallery walls and sort of focal point pieces throughout the house. I love these giant overscaled knobs that are original to the home. I also love to kind of layer, and this is a rug that my dad actually collected on his travels to the Silk Road in China in the 80s. Over here we have a original Magnolia wall with this paneling, and that's something that we wanted to really keep. It warms up the house, and we layered all of this art that we've collected over the years to create this gallery wall in this space. As an interior designer, I love to do gallery walls that have meaning but really showcase somebody's collection. So for me, we have pieces that are by our friends, pieces that I have painted myself in college, and even things by my kids. And I think when you weave these things all together, including vintage pieces, it really tells a nice story and elevates all of the art. What's unique about this home is that there's so many hallways, and they're very wide, so they feel like they're kind of their own spaces, and we wanted to play into that. So we even have little furnishings here and there in the hallway. This is a rocking horse that I've had since my childhood in Hong Kong in the 80s. And I love these walls of windows. And what's really great about these windows is the fact that there's this stationary pane of glass at the bottom. So they're great for dogs. Our dogs walk along here, they can see outside, but when the windows are open, they can't jump against the screens or jump out the windows. So I don't know if the original architect thought about that, but I think it's an amazing sort of practical choice. So I grew up in Hong Kong and spent a lot of time in China over the years, and this is my snuff bottle collection that I've collected really ever since I was young. One of these I've had since I was in elementary school, and I used to use it as a prop to play with my Barbies. So really kind of expanded this over the years in my travels to China and enjoy seeing it every day. Right here is a piece of art by one of our friends, Nils Eriksson. He's a photographer. He's mainly a sports photographer, but we love having one of his pieces in our home to remind us of him. Off of our entryway is our sunken living room. Let's head there next. This is our living room. I love that it is a big volume of space and that both the floor goes down and the ceiling goes up. We have this classic kind of mid-century fireplace, and we really wanted to make it a little more neutral. It was this weird yellowy brown brick, so we painted that white, and the white brick carries through to this built-in bench, which is again a very classic mid-century element. Because of the strange bricks, I wanted some sort of artwork on here that would fit in this frame. And we use these amazing Katie Gong knots here that have a really sculptural quality. Also, because the room is so big, we separated it into two different seating groups. So we have our fireplace seating group as well as the main kind of loungy area separated by a daybed. You can see that the gallery wall that was in the hallway carries around onto this wall in the living room on the Magnolia paneling. And again, it's a mix of things that have been done by me and my children, this large piece, and other vintage pieces and local artists that we've gathered along the way. We incorporated the TV into the gallery wall as well, which kind of makes it go away and makes it feel a little more intentional. This is a custom credenza that I had made to highlight some of my hardware pieces and also sort of has a mid-century vibe. So in this fireplace seating group, I have these vintage Milo Bauman chairs that I found on Cherish. And I love that they're sort of low slung and really cozy. And I paired them with this really shiny hay table, and I love that it reflects the wood on the ceiling. I also have a knack for collecting little vintage animals, brass animals. So I have elephants, I have some brass nutcrackers on the coffee table, ducks. So you'll see those kind of sprinkled around throughout the house. There's a moratorium now on buying more brass animals. I'm not allowed to do it anymore. And now I have a vintage table that I found on Facebook Marketplace, along with a really kind of 80s sofa that's super loungy that I love. I always try to make sure things are livable. So this is an indoor-outdoor fabric. We have a lot of kids and dogs running from place to place, so it needs to be really durable. So my personal style is really kind of eclectic and collected. I like to say it's a little bit of off-kilter, so I like things that inspire whimsy and are a little bit weird. So the blobby sofa, this table that's very traditional in form and has this kind of Jenny Lind dowel type form, are all a mix of different things. There are some mid-century items, but it's really a mix of different eras that play together nicely. We are a family of music lovers and art lovers, so along with creating art with my children, we all love to play music. This is my piano that has traveled across the Pacific with me a number of times and has landed here in Atlanta, and my children still play it. We have a guitar, a drum set in the corner. Even though I'm a designer, I do live here too, and we like to have these things easily accessible for our children to play around with and not hidden away. One of the things that really drew us to this home was the indoor-outdoor feel of the house. We're only 15 minutes from downtown Atlanta, but it feels like you're really nestled into the forest, and the big windows accentuate that. So there are several places in the home where you really have this indoor-outdoor connection here in the living room, in the dining room, and some of the other spaces we'll see next. So why don't we go into the dining and kitchen? We're in the dining and kitchen area now, and this is where we did a lot of reconfiguring when we got the house. The dining room was closed off from the kitchen in a more sort of traditional layout. It had this horrible gray carpeting. And one thing we did was to open it up, and this wall had that same Magnolia paneling, which we then salvaged and carried through to our pantry and fridge wall. We wanted everything to feel integrated because it is so open and kind of hidden. So the fridge is hidden, the pantries are hidden, and we have a little coffee nook that we created here. The island is really the heart of our home, with the sink and just the beautiful big surface here. And one thing we wanted to do, even though the kitchen is so open to the rest of the house, is that we added skylights here because it is one of the few spaces that's actually kind of an interior space. There are no actual windows in the kitchen. In here, I really wanted the island to kind of contrast from the Magnolia paneling, and one thing that I played around with was the hardware. So I used my line, the Deco series from Nest Studio, and played around with the unlacquered brass against the black and contrasting with the black version of that against the Magnolia here. And I am personally a fan of open shelving in kitchens to an extent. And what I like to do is, on the shelf that we use a lot of the items, I like to display those and they get used a lot so things aren't getting dusty. And then we have a nice upper display shelf where we have some fun accessories and things that we've collected over the years. One thread that carries throughout our home is little pops of red, and the stove being one of them, and is really a feature in our kitchen, the red stove. And you'll see the red again carried into the dining chairs and into our snug. So it's something, a thread that carries throughout the house. I also love this fire clay tile that we did for the backsplash and the hood. I feel like it really brings a handmade and tactile element to the space that otherwise feels like pretty sleek. So we also have a little seating nook on this side of the kitchen. This used to be a funny hallway and a laundry room, and we really reconfigured this when we created our kids wing. So I love this little loungy area. Our dogs love to sit here and look out the window. One of the cool things about this area is this little secret passage in this cabinet that goes to my daughter's room. And this was an idea that I had. I think that my inner child wanted to have this. And so I incorporated it into the design of this space. Since we were doing it, I figured why not? And it kind of acts as a side table as well. In this seating nook, we have a little bit more of a traditional piece of art. Our last home was a Victorian, so like I mentioned, I love all different styles, and I like to mix things with even kind of elaborate gilt frames. I feel like it's just a perfect moment here in this seating area. So the bench is also extra storage. We have more Nest hardware here, and then tons and tons of games, board games. We have a little cutout here that allows light in and peers into the kids' hallway. Part of the reasoning for that was actually the fact that we have an electrical panel hidden behind this rolling screen, and we really didn't want to move it. That's like a big expense to move your electrical panel. So taking into the account those types of items, but making interesting design choices because of them. I'm a real big fan of high-low and splurging on some things and saving on others. In the kitchen, we really wanted to salvage that Magnolia paneling and instead of trying to mill that and try to find it new. So we did that whole wall in that. I love these decked on counters. They're a little bit of a splurge. You can put hot pans on them. You can even clean it with nail polish remover. So it's perfect for a family that makes a mess and likes to do arts and crafts and stuff like that on here. Little other things, I did these custom knurled brass island legs, and they tie into the knurled brass on our faucet. I found a local metal worker to make those. And then I love these sort of cool Etsy stools that fit together. I love to source fun things from Etsy. They're not expensive. I like to find really fun, unique makers. Let's go into the dining area. The dining area, it feels more intimate because we have this chandelier. Because of the post and beam ceilings in this house, there aren't a lot of opportunities for decorative lighting, but we have this kind of pendant mobile style chandelier in the dining. And again, little touches of red on the back of the dining chairs that we've threw out. This is actually a table that I found on Facebook Marketplace years ago, and I personally lacquered it a mint green color. which is again a color that you kind of see throughout the home. As you can see, the dining room really opens up to the outdoors, so let's head there next. So here we are in our backyard, and what I really love about this house is all of the amazing existing hardscaping and landscaping, these beautiful Japanese maples that kind of frame this seating area. We've added some fun string lights that make it really festive and intimate in the evening. We love to entertain. One of the things that we added in our second phase was this pass-through window to our kitchenette and bar area, so it makes it really great for having people over. Why don't we head up to the pool next and our fun kids play area. What I love about this property is how many different outdoor spaces there are. I love to garden and I love to help create these outdoor rooms with plantings as well. I love that there's so many different native fauna that come here. We have a lot of butterflies, hummingbirds, deer, chipmunks, so that's really a lot of fun to see out the window. This pool is an original kidney-shaped pool, so it's very mid-century as well. We did do some resurfacing here, but it's basically original. And as you can hear, there's tons of cicadas. We really are kind of out in the woods. I love that when you're out here, you don't feel like you're 15 minutes from downtown Atlanta. It really feels like you're out in the middle of the forest. You can't see any of the neighbors, so it's super private. We have the fire pit area over here, which we use a lot in the fall and the winter. One of the things I love about gardening is growing my own fruits and vegetables. So this is actually a fig tree that I planted 5 years ago, and it's actually now probably 15 feet tall. We have blueberries and even more fruits and veggies up on the roof. So my kids really love it out here. We have a rope swing, the pool, obviously. My son's super into wiffle ball, so he's created his own wiffle ball field with a home run fence back in the play area. We have a hammock and a slide up in the woods, so it's really kind of like a kids' playground out here. We are in Georgia. It's starting to get hot, so let's head back inside. I have a lot more to show you. After we did our first round of renovations, we did a whole addition onto the home to add square footage and workspace. And one of the things we did was add this hallway, which connects the new part of the house. And this hallway is really multifunctional. It contains tons of storage. We have a coat closet, this sort of command center niche, as well as our laundry behind these doors that fold back. One of the things, because of the height of the hallway, was that we added cabinets all the way up and this ladder that can run the whole length of the hallway to access the cabinets. One of the things I wanted to do was really pay homage to what's going on in the main part of the house. So I did this whole wall of paneling. You can't find Magnolia paneling anymore, so I decided to make it black. And then we did the same wood on the ceilings, and you'll see that we carried that whole architectural style through to the new addition. Another thing that the hallway conceals is a little powder room that's kind of a little gem, and it's wallpapered in this crazy dragon wallpaper grass cloth that I got from Spoonflower. It's just a little surprise behind this hidden door. And then moving on this way, we have a bunch more storage. This is essentially like a buffet that we have here, even more pantry storage, kind of right adjacent to the dining room. And then we head into what I like to call the snug. So heading into this new area of the house, on the way to the snug, you run through the kitchenette, which is that area that we use for indoor-outdoor entertaining with our pass-through window. One of the things that we have carried throughout the house is this cork flooring, which is very mid-century modern, but I also love that it's a green product. It's super sustainable and feels great underfoot. So here in the snug, we call it the snug because it's very cozy and intimate. It's one of the few spaces that doesn't have a lot of windows. It's a great place to watch TV, and we really intentionally made it really cozy and warm. And I wanted to play again with color. So we have more pops of red in here. I love this Tibetan tiger rug. It's sort of a modern take on something that's more traditional. As you know, I love to collect art. So these are two local artists. This is a piece by Sergio Suarez, who's really up and coming, and he does these amazing giant scale woodcuts. So I also love playing with light. And because we're not doing a lot of cool decorative ceiling lighting, I love to play with sconces in this home. And I love this double arm kind of squiggly sconce that we used here. Beyond the snug is our guest room and what I call our guest and pool bath. And I love that our guests here really have their own living space when they come and kind of can be separate from the rest of the family if they want. As a designer, it was really exciting to design this space from scratch. I designed the custom sectional to fit it perfectly. And one of the clever things that I wanted to do was, in creating this side table here, you wouldn't know it, but the air return is hidden behind this cane panel so the air can flow in, but you don't see this ugly air return on the wall. Let's head up to my studio space. This is my studio space where my interior design team meets and makes all of the magic happen. One of the things I wanted to do was really highlight my hardware collection. I also design hardware. So that's what we did on all of these cabinets. We used all of our different collections of hardware. And this is where we store all of our products for our library. I love how much light there is here. It's so inspiring to kind of work up in this tree house. And I also really enjoy painting. So this is also kind of my painting studio here as well. And it opens up onto our roof deck. So in the studio space, I really wanted to play again with color, as I like to do. We have these kind of oxblood red tables, and I love to play with texture too. So playing with the traditional kind of Pantone chair form, but in a wicker version of that. I love to paint, as I mentioned, and I really like to paint figures. It's just something that I've always been fascinated by. So that's kind of what I'm up to here. And we have this Brent War chandelier. He's a local artist in Georgia, and he does these amazing plaster pieces. This was commissioned specifically for this space, and I love how it fits so perfectly. I've always enjoyed being creative. Even as a child, I was drawing house plans, so I think I always knew that I wanted to go into this industry. I started by working for a very large design firm and kind of cut my teeth there. And then about 12 years ago, I started my hardware line, Nest Studio, kind of in conjunction with having kids, and then did some design work here and there as part of Nest, then moved down to Atlanta, where I really formalized my design firm and started Atelier Davis. And we've been doing all sorts of projects around the country, both residential and commercial, some really fun restaurant spaces and a Pilates studio, and really enjoying working on those things. And this space is so inspiring. I love taking cues from nature and just from things that I find in everyday life, even things from like subway handles and like machinery that I see. Those often play into my hardware designs. So it's really interesting to see where inspiration can come from. But like I said before, this whole space feels like it's in a tree house, and part of that is because we have this amazing outdoor roof deck. Let's head out there. So here we are on the roof deck. I love being out here. As I mentioned, I love gardening, and we have these raised planters where I'm growing tomatoes, watermelons, beans, zucchinis. One of the things that's great about having all of this on the roof is the fact that the deer and the rabbits cannot get up here, so I'm able to grow these things without their interference. I have a bunch of tomatoes growing here, some thyme, and a squash, which is hidden down here. And then I have cucumbers and okra. I'm waiting for this giant cucumber to be ready. And then I have a ton of tomatoes, these giant basil plants they're doing kind of amazing up here. So lots of sun and the plants are really happy. I actually have some watermelons. I have a little baby watermelon growing here, as well as some peppers. So I really enjoy coming out here and picking things and watering them. It's just a nice respite for me. So the roof deck continues over here, and I love that the beams on the outside, the inside of the house carry through to the outside. And we have this little seating area here where I can sit, have my coffee, and I can even monitor the kids in the pool down below. All right, let's head back inside. Here we are in the primary bedroom. What I love about this room is that it feels like such a sanctuary. It's surrounded by the woods on both sides. I love this little seating area here with our Nye armchair. It's a classic Japanese designed modern armchair. And then on the headboard wall, I have another textile that my parents picked up for me on their travels. And I love incorporating all of those in unique and interesting ways. These are some custom nightstands that I designed, and I know I mentioned a little while back the mint on our dining table. It's just a color that I weave in, and I love this kind of powder-coated mint hardware that I used here. I love playing with bedding and textiles. This is a long kind of linen bedspread, so instead of doing your traditional comforter with a skirt or duvet, this just sort of casual flows onto the floor. It's intentionally wrinkly and just really loose and flowy. One of the things I did in here was to paint the original plywood subfloor. It was carpeted before, and I just wanted to do something quick and easy, and this has really lasted a long time, and I love the kind of dark gray contrast with everything else that feels light and airy. So our primary bath is a feature that we renovated as part of our second phase, and I love that it still feels mid-century, but it's super fun. We did this custom fire clay tile, again with a little bit of a touch of that brick red, and terrazzo countertops. And we used my Nest Studio hardware line in kind of a unique way here on the cabinets on the corners. And we have this great bathtub, which is the perfect place to lounge. Because we're so private, I didn't include any drapery or anything, and I can just sit here and look out the window at the woods. Again, I love to bring artwork into bathrooms as well. I have this vintage Picasso print that I picked up at an antiques mall, and then another painting that I did actually of taking a bath, which is kind of perfect in the bathtub room. All right, so this is my daughter's room. I really like to not try too hard to design kids' spaces and let them have free rein to be creative. So you can see that this is not overly designed, and she's added all sorts of her own touches. One thing I love is this wallpaper, which is sort of a color on wallpaper, and you can see that she's colored portions of the paper. And then we've done a little canopy here. And this is where the secret passage exits, right next to her desk. So you can crawl through there and end up in her room. The one thing that I really picked out was the wallpaper. But because it's a color on wallpaper, she's added all of her own touches, and she has a big say when it comes to color. Lavender is her favorite color, and yellow. So it's really evolved over the years and become something that is truly her. Home to me really means a sanctuary, a place to rest and recharge, make memories with my family and friends, and really showcase my own personality and all of the quirkiness that comes with it. So Homeworthy, thanks so much for coming on this home tour with me. It's been so much fun. I've really enjoyed it. Time to get back to it. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.